Hi everyone, I hope you're all okay and keeping well and safe and making sure you're washing your hands and wearing your masks and staying in your bubbles. I know it's very strange times, especially those of you that have gone back to school. It must be quite odd to have all the social distancing and not being able to play with your friends like you normally do. But this time will pass and we'll soon be back to normal, hopefully. It just might take us a little bit longer than we first thought. Anyway, now I was looking at the Sunday school stories for this term, and there are so many things that happened in the book of Genesis that the Sunday school stories that we have don't really cover it all. There's lots of fascinating stories about Jacob and Moses, and we hardly touch on those. So I was given today a set of beautiful books called The Children's Treasury of Bible Stories. Now, it's a set of 4 books, and they have some wonderful stories in them that talk about a lot of the stories that we were missing, even from our children's Bible. So I thought I would read these stories instead of doing the Sunday school. I hope that's all right with you and that you enjoy these stories. So this one is called The Tower of Babel. The men were talking about themselves and about their people. Whenever these men met, they spoke of their power, their importance, and their greatness. Yes, said one, we are a great people, yet there is one thing we do not have. The other men wanted to know what that thing was. A great thing that would bring our people together, the man replied. A great thing that would make the rest of the world see how important people are. The other men buzzed with excitement. He's right, one said. We must do something to make the world see our greatness, another said. But what? Asked a third. I have an idea, said one of the men. Let's build a great city, the greatest city in the world. Yes, said another, but not an ordinary city. We want a city that will last forever, a city of bricks. The men turned to the one who had started the whole thing. What do you think? They asked. Is it enough? Almost, the man replied. A city is a great thing, and a great city must be built of bricks. But our city must have something that no other city on earth has. The others asked him what he had in mind. A tower, the man replied quietly. A tower so tall that it will reach into the heavens. For a moment, no one spoke. Each was imagining a giant tower growing up into the skies, up until it cast its shadow across the hills, up until it was lost in clouds. Suddenly, the men were cheering and shaking each other's hands and dancing with excitement. Without a word, the decision had been made. Their people would have a city of bricks, and at its centre a tower would leap towards the stars. Soon everyone was working. Some were planning the buildings and streets. Others were making the bricks. Others had already begun to build. Everyone had to be given a chance to work on the tower that was growing in the centre of the city. Everyone wanted to have a share in its glory. It grew taller and taller. One morning, just before dawn, the top of it began to glow with golden light. It had caught the first ray of the rising sun. The workmen were filled with awe. Our tower is rising up to meet the sun, one whispered. A stranger in the city also saw the strange gleam. He stopped and asked a group of workers and asked, What gods have made this wonderful tower? Not gods. We made this tower. The stranger looked at the workers and wondered if they were joking. Could ordinary men have built such a tower? The workers were wondering too. Perhaps we are a little like gods to have done such a thing, they said to themselves. God, too, had been watching the tower grow. He had heard the boasting of the leaders. He had heard the people wondering whether they were gods. He did not like what he had seen and heard, and it was time to put a stop to this foolish tower. It was time to show the builders of the tower how far from being gods they were. One of the foremen of the tower had found a man sleeping instead of working. He grabbed the worker by the collar and shouted, "What are you doing, you lazy fellow?" But what the bricklayer heard was, "Kuvat moket zu nugulvorch." He stared blankly at the foreman, who repeated his question more loudly. The bricklayer was terrified by the foreman's babbling. "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't understand a word you're saying," he said, or meant to say. What the foreman heard was, "Nitsi welda krona seba klon kana bistri flogis vil tapis." The foreman's mouth fell open. All over the tower, people were shouting and waving their arms. No one could understand what anyone else was saying. The foreman was running from person to person to try and find someone he could understand. Has everyone gone crazy? He wondered. At last he found someone he could understand, and who understood him. All over the tower, work stopped, as men who spoke the same language gathered into small, excited groups. In one of these groups was the man who had first thought of building a tower. "We must get the men back to work," he said. "The tower must be finished." "It's hopeless," another said. "You can't build a tower with people who can't even talk to each other." Before long, the tower was empty. The workers in each group had decided to leave the unfinished city and move to another place. They didn't want to live around people who grunted and chirped or coughed instead of speaking. They wanted to live in a place where everyone spoke the same language. And so the Tower of Babel was never finished. The people who planned it never reached the heavens. They couldn't even boast about what they had almost done, for their neighbours couldn't understand a word they were saying. So we heard the story of the Tower of Babel, where it's the beginning of all the different languages. And before that, we only spoke one language. There was only one language spoken by that people. And now we speak lots of different languages, don't we? Even here in Canada, there are lots of different languages spoken. There's French and English, and even they are slightly different from the language spoken in England and in France. And we've got all the indigenous languages as well. So there's lots and lots and lots around the world. And then the deaf people have a language, don't they? They have sign language. And the blind people have Braille, which is a series of bumps on pieces of paper that they learn to feel what the words are. And maybe one day we can learn how to say the Lord's Prayer in sign language. Wouldn't that be cool? We could do that. I have no idea how it's done, so maybe we should have a look up. See if you can look it up on the internet, if you get a chance and if Mum and Dad let you. And I'll have a go too, and maybe we could learn it together. All right, my darlings, well, take care and stay safe, be good, stay well. Bye.